Hey guys, welcome back to another video for KidZone. We're going to be able to see each other in person, it looks like, very soon, so that is so exciting. I can't wait. Hope you're looking forward to it too. But for now, we've got the video, so enjoy. Today we're looking at a really serious and rather sad subject, but one that is so important, and that is the death of Jesus. So I've put together a little drama, and what you're going to see is the story being told from the perspective of Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate was a Roman governor. He was a real person, so that's one of the things we say in the Creed, which is something that all Christians believe. I believe in Jesus Christ, Father Almighty, and so on and so forth. And one of the bits in the Creed is he was crucified under Pontius Pilate, died and was buried. Now, the reason we mention Pontius Pilate is because we can look him up. He's a historical figure, and it's one of the things that proves that Jesus was real and that he really died. So this just uses a little bit of imagination, imagining that Pilate was writing to his brother and telling him about the events of Jesus' trial and crucifixion. My brother, it has been a long time since I saw you last. You must excuse me. You have always been a mentor to me, and I mean you no disservice. The situation here in Judea remains on a knife edge. Treachery lurks round every corner. We've been locked into running battles with rebels and terrorists for some months. The people are dissatisfied and volatile. It seems we can never rest. Meanwhile, their chief priest is more zealous for Caesar than Caesar himself. Yet he seems to forget that it is Caesar who is in charge. In light of this, I wish to tell you about this day's events. I was interrupted during my morning stroll around the balconies by a member of our patrol. He told me that this chief priest wished to see me at the gates. I sighed and made my way downstairs. He had with him another man in chains, whom I had never seen before. This man was strange. He was still and silent, but he burned with an intensity that drew me to him. I asked the chief priests what the charges against him were, to which he said that this man was some sort of rebel who was inciting disobedience to Rome, claiming to be some sort of king of the Jewish people. The man looked nothing more than a wanderer to me. I asked him if it were true that he was their king, to which he merely replied, "You have said so." I was not keen to give in to this priest. If we arrested everyone who made an infraction against Caesar, we should just turn Jerusalem into prison. As for being king of the Jews, well, that was nothing to do with us. "Try him under your laws," I said. "But we demand the death penalty," came the priest's reply, "and only you are authorized to pass such a sentence." I scoffed at his impertinence. "Sir," the priest says, "he stirs up the people all over Judea with his teaching. He started in Galilee." I saw my way out. It happened that the king of Galilee, Herod, was nearby in Jerusalem that day. He's a slimy weasel who would drop me in it as soon as he got the chance. I decided to give it back to him, since this prisoner came from the province under his rule. Of course, Herod did nothing, mocked him a bit, dressed him up to make him look ridiculous, spat at him, all very crass, and then sent him back to me. Still, at least Herod and I managed to be civil to each other for once. Now it seems like word had got out. The mob turned up outside the palace, baying for this man to be crucified. I could still see no reason or purpose to having him executed. I gave it one last chance. During this festival of theirs, which is currently taking place, it is tradition to release a condemned prisoner. I had already selected some low-rent rebel called Barabbas, but I decided to give the crowd the choice as to who would win their freedom. As I brought the men up, I heard the cry of Barabbas' name before we even arrived on the balcony. I pleaded with them that this Jesus was the prisoner's name, had done nothing wrong, and there was no mandate for his death sentence. Nothing could be done. In that moment, I
truly felt my weakness and isolation in a foreign land, whose customs, politics, and religion I scarcely understand. I released Barabbas, and had no choice but to pass this Jesus into their hands. They crucified him on Golgotha, place of the skull, with 2 other criminals. Before they raised the stake, I had a board placed on it which said, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." I don't know what made me write it, but it took satisfaction in the chief priest's protests. He begged me, "Write, claimed to be King of the Jews." I told him, "I have written what I have written. He needs to learn his place." I don't know who this man was. It doesn't matter to me. But if he was their king, then his fate proved fitting when the treachery of the people here is confronted by the true might of Rome. Then we shall see what happens to their customs and their precious temple. Still, the thought of this man's death makes me shudder. I have no doubt that he was an innocent man. How I long to be home. Your brother, Pontius Pilate. Hail Caesar.
Okay, welcome back. I hope you found that helpful. I want to talk a little bit about one of the characters in that story. There's lots of characters mentioned, but I want to think a little bit about Barabbas. So Barabbas was effectively a terrorist, but he got to go free, and Jesus took the punishment that he was due. He was probably just about to be sent out to be crucified. He went free, and Jesus was crucified. Now, some of you may know, I suspect many of you don't, but I've spent quite a lot of time in prison, working in prison, not as a prisoner, just to clarify. I used to do music classes in prison. I've done that a lot, actually, and I've met lots of prisoners in my time. And I find it really interesting speaking to prisoners, because almost always for me, I feel like I'm speaking to a real person, because they don't have to keep up the pretense that they're a good person and that they've never done anything wrong, because they know that people know they've done something wrong because they're in prison. And it's a very different experience speaking to people like that. And I don't know who you relate to most in that story, but I think it's worth remembering, even while we're young, that there's a bit of Barabbas in all of us, because all of us deserve the punishment that Jesus took for us. And it's a really hard thing to think about, and it's a really hard thing to admit, because we all want to believe that we're good people. But it gets a bit easier the older you get, because you make more horrendous mistakes and you do more things that you wish every day that you could undo. But there's something rotten inside every person that needs dealt with, and that's what Jesus dealt with on the cross. So I would encourage you to think about that a bit. It's as I say, this is a difficult kind of topic, but we don't stay here. There's some wonderful news coming in future weeks, but it's important that we don't gloss over this. Something absolutely massive happened when Jesus died on the cross, and it wasn't for no reason. So I wonder if you would maybe want to take some time to talk about that, and maybe it's something you really struggle with. Maybe you just really can't handle the idea that there's something rotten in every human. But if you struggle with that, well, start with the obvious stuff. Start with all the things that you see around you that are wrong in the world, the places where things go badly wrong. And then I think if we're honest and we gradually kind of work our way down, we eventually see that there's a little bit of that in all of us. So there's some worksheets that you can work through that have some questions as well. And you can go through the whole story. It's quite long, but go through the whole story and read the account of Jesus' trial and his crucifixion and see all the different things that people said about him. And you can maybe think as you do that, what would you have said if you were there? It's easy to believe that we would have been courageous and that we would have done the right thing. But I think we probably, if we're being honest, we know that we like to be swept up along with things, and it's very hard to speak even what you think is true when everybody else is saying something else. So just some things to think about. As I say, it's a tough week this week, but hang on because it gets better. There's some amazing news just around the corner. Okay, I really hope to see you guys soon. Take care and bye for now.